Is upstairs.
No worries. I will do it like this. Okay, so nobody wants to save Europe? Please, I'm going to bring more people to save Europe. We are saving Europe in this room. We want to save Europe. Don't go for Israel, go for Europe. Europe is here.
Where?
Here. We want to save Europe, guys.
We cannot say no to Stephanie. We don't like Europe.
You have to. Let's go. So we're going to be late. I suggest that we begin.
Okay.
Okay.
Go.
Go for that. Let's go. Mauricio, you're here. So I'm very happy to have you here because in the second floor there's the same topic but for the Israeli startup nation. It's how Israel become a big YouTube hit. And what I propose to do with you is to make of Europe the startup nation. We all live in Europe here, so we live in Europe. Yes? Almost? Yes, almost. As everybody here, I'm fascinated about the Israeli example and how Israel, from, I would say, a land with no resources and nothing, has been able over the last few years to be. We have, today, a lot of trends that are impacting the way we live. We are just at the beginning of the global revolution, of the digital revolution. We have more robots. You see all the movies at the moment, all the development about the robot, the algorithms, the connected car. It's perfect. It's lovely. It's going to save our life. But what are your kids are going to do in the next few years? Which jobs are they going to have? If we don't do anything, in Europe, we're going to be fucked. Why? Because Israel is there, perfect, so we can move more Israeli success story in Europe. The valuation of the US internet players, shows that at the end of the day, the people who have been able to tap into the tech development is clearly US, and we're getting to China. When we look at Europe, over the last 15 years, we only had 12 unicorns company, 12 or 15, compared to 75 in the US, even more. So what could we do as a citizen of Europe, or does it mean anything, to enable more development of jobs in Europe? My belief is that if we don't tap into the tech ecosystem, if we don't make of Europe a place for jobs related to tech, we're going to be facing those two major trends of globalization in one hand. So you can operate your company from anywhere in the world, and guess what? It's more from the US or from Asia or from Israel that you will have the big tech players. Or you can operate, you can also think that most of the job will be taken by machine or robots, much more able to perform low value added tasks than us, and even high value added tasks than us. So what are our assets as European countries to become also a startup nation, to become a place for job for tomorrow? And this is a topic that matters for me, because if we don't do that, we'll have a lot of social uncertainties in our countries, a lot of poverty. We will become lands of people retiring, and all the young people will be flying abroad. We already see that. Mauricio Sanz wants to go to Israel. My nephew are living in South Africa and in the US. They don't want to stay in Europe. So we're living and we're losing all the key forces. So any ideas to do that? Or do you think that I have a very dramatic view of what is going to happen to Europe? Because if we look at Spain, what is the rate of unemployment in Spain? 25, and for the people below 30, almost 50, no? 50. So it means that here in Spain, 50% of the young people are unemployed. And what they do? They leave the country.
It's one of the options.
One of the options.
One of the options. and it's not a bad option, because if they leave the country and finally they are able to get a job and master something else, maybe when future change they can go back again and try to do something.
They can.
We will see. And nobody may say anything about that. So if, no, my point is, I don't like the idea that leaving the country is bad and nothing else than bad. I'm sorry, I don't agree. In Spain we have a long and burial tradition of immigration.
For sure.
My family are immigrants. In Europe and in America, North and South America. And by the end of the day, we are not so bad that we were in the beginning. Talking about almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, I fully agree, but 50% of the young people here are unemployed. If we look at
it's still related with the old technologies, the old system of working. Maybe the next generation of immigrants will be dealing via platforms. So getting more and more platforms for corporates, for companies, for new business, interconnecting. So the competence you can have with some domains comes from specific regions. If you learn your domain, if you learn your heritage, you might have something to bring with platforms on different levels, and you might work for a company which is based in Spain, but you are Italian because you have competence from there. And I see that, an example, I have two companies that are based on the platform. One is the advertising business, and now one is into the design business. So easier, of course, to leverage with the platform, but both, one has 300,000 advertisers, so with competence to make advertising. The other one has already 70,000 designers of products. They can deal for companies that they could have problem to
yeah, but don't you think at some point, if we think about that, we become as the third world countries, where you can afford to have nice people, but where the value added is in outside the local wealth management of the country?
No, it's different because it's the world, now is global, is interconnected. So in the past, we had slower speed in moving things, customs, no internet. So of course there was a trade out. But now, which is faster, this is going to be redesigned, and products, things that's going to be produced by robots. I think in 30 years we'll discover back to be made by human. A product made by humans is going to be like, oh wow, this can be done.
I would say something that, at least in Spain, I see that there is some reluctance to embrace change and innovation somehow. And let me explain why I say that. Because some people think that increasing productivity means to twist the arm of the workers or things like that, or go to low-cost economy or things like that. And the other day I was talking with a big corporation that they use a lot of human resources, and they told us that anytime that they try to put an innovation in their company, they were having a lot of a reaction from the trade unions against productivity. And so at the end we all lose, if we don't embrace, we are not as productive as other countries are, and this is a serious issue that has to be addressed.
But do you think that countries like Europe can, we can't make a generalization. For me there's sorry guys, in one hand Germany, London, and I'm speaking about London, then France, Italy, Spain are, I would say, pretty in the same boat, and then we have the Nordic countries. But when I look at the southern country like France, Italy, Spain, it's very hard to change things because we are so attached to the labor stability to the fact that when you get retired, you get your pension, that when you are outside a job, you get your health pension, that it does not encourage people to take risk here.
In the long term, we will lose, of course. But as an example, when the first Apple computers started arriving to Spain a lot of years ago, they were stuck at the custom officers because they were destroying jobs. This kind of approach or vision about that innovation is against employment is totally wrong. Innovation creates more jobs, and innovation creates better productivity, and innovation creates growth and economic growth and social growth.
But when you look at the places where in the world we have innovation, it's often places where we have people who have been moving from abroad. San Francisco, imagine being wild enough to go to San Francisco. Now when you look at the workforce in San Francisco, it's mainly composed of Indian, Chinese, Asian people and some European. Israel, land of immigration. People have nothing to lose, everything to win. Europe, we're letting the young people living. And honestly, when I look at France, I don't have any example of a foreign guy who's been able to move to France to decide to create its tech company in France. We have French people going abroad, putting their company in London or in the US, but nobody is coming back to Europe. So my point, in a sense, is that if we want to become a startup nation, we need to be able to attract the people able to take risk and to be, again, developing that spirit of the new frontier, which so far has not been the task of Europe. So maybe we need to have a big tsunami of social crisis. I mean, but even when sorry guys, when I look at Spain, 50% of the young people unemployed.
That's not really the correct figure.
That's a crime.
I think people are obsessed with the 50% thing. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
That's my first thing. Second thing, as a journalist, I will say that those people who are stuck on that 50% in Greece as well, they don't actually look at how many people have jobs that are not paying taxes. Because there's a lot of great economy in Spain, Greece, Italy, that have constantly jobs. And another third thing is that we're trying to organize an event next year, like next week, next month, that has 2,000 people coming from all around Europe. And we're trying to have volunteers from Spain. They're illegal to have volunteers that are under 18-year-old. They cannot work in this region. That if they're like between 16 and 18, they can't work unless they get a specific permission. So it's like there's a lot of things there. There's a lot of jobs like I'm getting all the time. People wanting to work here, they're from abroad. When you say that there are no startups coming over here, I can give you right now 15 startups that are all over 2 million euros that are actually coming here.
Coming to Barcelona.
Barcelona, Madrid specifically, but Barcelona as well. There are Taiba, there's so many more. I know
15. How many do you have in Israel? 6,000? Both. So we I agree
but is
with
there
you.
like a competition here, or are we actually trying to like establish whys and the hows? Because we can just go on and say, okay, Finland has billion-euro companies, and they're half of the size in population in Israel. Sweden have how many billion-euro companies, and so on and so on. I think the most important thing is here, like, not to look at the weaknesses of, wow, we're so Europe and people are leaving. We're an awesome continent. I think this is one of the best continents in the world. Who doesn't come here for holidays and want to live in Spain or go to eat in Italy? I mean, people don't check it. Yeah, exactly. France is #1 in tourism. I mean, come on. People tend to forget that. And I think it's just a shame. Because we're organizing this event in Slush in Helsinki, and 5 years ago we had nothing there. It was all about Kone and Nokia. All Kone and Nokia. And now we have Angry Birds, we have Supercells, we have constantly game companies.
This is a message I want to convey, is that it's not a weak position. I mean, we can do it. I mean, but for that we need to fix several issues. One of them being the status regarding entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but in France, I mean, 6 months ago, the law changed, and when you bankrupt your company, you're no more forbidden to have a bank account, which before, maybe 1 year ago. Which has unleashed a lot of the entrepreneurial spirit. I don't know how it is in Spain, but...
Let me tell you one thing. let's imagine 5 persons that they have a good idea and they want to create a startup. Okay, the 5 of them, let's imagine it's me and 4 of you. I have the main idea and I have, let's say, 30% of the company, and the rest, the other 70% of the company is divided by the rest of my partners, that are you, and we create a company. According to the Spanish law, at least, any partner that doesn't have more than 25% has to have its social security, has to have a salary, a wage, an employment rights, blah 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 blah. How the hell we are going to make a startup among 5 friends if all of a sudden one of us, after 1 year, can sue the company and bring the company bankrupt right away with the Spanish law?
Yeah. So so this is why it's also we have to
structure to the best.
yeah. So this is why also there's a few
There is
parts that
a legal framework designed for the 20th century, and we are now in the 21st century.
Yeah.
In the 19th century, to have a startup company, you need to be a carpenter, that you save the hell a lot of money, you make your carpentry shop bigger, until the end you became a furniture manufacturer, as an example. We are in the 21st century. We need to go fast, and we need that the regulation is not an obstacle, it's an aid. And you're talking about France. France also has all this kind of like...
I think that when we look at Europe, there's 4 countries which have the major labor constraint. It's France, Germany, but Germany, and Spain, Italy. But funny enough, Germany is how dynamic is today the Berlin scene. You go to Berlin, you see a lot of international people who have no clue of how to speak German, starting their business in Berlin and you can look at Berlin and say, okay, they must have fantastic tech school there. Okay, not so much. But the youth, they goes to Berlin. Maybe because the government is doing a fantastic marketing about Berlin because it's a cheap place. Easy. So my question for you, for those of you who are from Spain, Spain could be easily playing that role in Barcelona. Barcelona is like Tel Aviv, it's on the beach. It's full of international people. It has a big airport. The quality of life is fantastic. So why not? The city is not pushing more. To have international people coming to Berlin, to Barcelona, like Berlin is doing, to create jobs.
Because international and a beach is not enough.
No, good food is not enough.
And San Francisco, all the key tech scene places are on the beach. San Francisco, New York is on the beach, Tel Aviv, and now you have Barcelona. So Paris, Paris is another story. What I see in France today is that the tech is spreading out because it's so expensive in Paris that it's, even if you have the good people, the talents, you have plenty of good companies, but it's really expensive to start.
But I think the problem is cultural problem. To make startups, you need this kind of sense of to be fair about failure, and to change your job anytime until you have your best job. Like this is American way, so this is not a European way. European way is to be like, if you change your job, it's like you are like out of the focus. You are not. So I think it's a cultural thing that is difficult to start with. Because America is a land of pioneers. They know they take risk and they know how to make new. This was in the 19th century. It was in the 19th. It's not something from the 20th century. So it's like people that knows that they have to risk a lot to go ahead.
Yeah.
but the culture in Europe is like the welfare status, and so probably this has hampered in a way.
And
this
we're the son and the daughters of the one who have stayed.
We are spoiled.
I do think as well that if you are afraid of failure, it's because if you fail, then you have to pay a lot of taxes, you have to pay back a lot to your workers. So that's why you are afraid of failure as well, to start up a company.
It's expensive.
Because when it's failed, I think that in the US and other countries, you don't have so much weight on your back, no, with your failed project.
However, I mean, that's true. But however, I mean, if we look at, I mean, often people react when it's the burning platform. When you look at your place and you say, okay, I have no other option, either I jump in the water or either I'd be killed because this is a massive catastrophe. And when we look at the situation in Europe, I mean, most of the instability that we had in the years 30s came from poverty. We see in most of the country, I mean, a rise of the anti-Semitism, a rise of the anti-Catholicism. I mean, for the first time in France, we have a church under threats of terrorist attack, which never happened in France. So, and this is, for me, very much related with a kind of bad economic situation, because when people are fully employed, I mean, they have no time to think about that. And also, it's a question of integrating everybody, I mean, on the workforce. So that is, for me, a case for urgency to act and to have alternative way of pushing the youth, because at the end of the day, our future is in the hand of the youth people, to come to the entrepreneurship, to come to the risk attitude. And for that, I mean, it's about, I guess, education. And this is where maybe we have the more to do, I mean, at least in some countries, I mean, to trigger that. When we look at Israel, I mean, Daniel is there, is one of the very few in the room from Israel. But there's the military system is doing a lot. Yes, and you see, the military system is doing a lot to educate people. At the end of the day, I mean, you have this equalization of knowledge when you're 18 to 21, because you go to the army and you get educated. In Europe, we have nothing else to do that. I mean, what?
I went to the army.
What?
I went to the army.
A few years ago, there was a survey made in Spain, and there was, I don't remember the exact figures, but most of the young people, their next goal for them was to work for the government.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So there is also sometimes when I meet some American clients, the first thing they talk about themselves is not about their success, it's about how many times they fail.
Yeah.
And they start again.
Start again.
Which probably at least in some Latin cultures is something like much more different and much less appreciated. That we have an old saying that in Spain that says that en España se hace leña de las ramas caídas, which means that.
Well, in the States, your curriculum, there is a specific chapter to say how many times you have had an enterprise and you have failed. Yeah. So this is very well appreciated. This knowledge, because this is considered the knowledge.
Hopefully the global culture will come sooner here to change the attitude towards these things.
In my opinion, Portugal is doing a great job. I was just there a few weeks ago. It's really doing a great job. They slashed all the costs for establishing a business, so there's zero cost. You don't pay any monthly expenses. So in Spain, if you want to start a company, you have to pay about 250 euros, which just goes to social security. And on top of that, you pay all the taxes, which is obviously normal, but that 250 can be quite a lot for a one-man band. In Portugal, it's no cost. You go online, you establish a company, in 2 hours it's established, no-nuclear system is signed, and you can start a company and pay 13% tax on your income. And that's pretty good, because you get straight to the Brazilian market as well. So they're doing a good job, and they're growing really well.
Let me pose a question about this aspect. Do you have the impression that the economy in Portugal in the last years, according to this data you provide and the frame of the regulation, is improving or is not improving?
Well, it's a great question to pose.
No, sorry. I pose this question because by the end of the day, the only real way to understand what happens and what may happen is by taking up all this final data and having a full picture of the situation. Because I'm sorry, because I'm trying to express some things that I've been learning in the last 5 weeks. I've been in a seminar dealing with which one is the driving force that may trigger economy to go up or down. Okay? Because by the end of the day, unemployment, equality, social stability depends on the strength of the economy. Okay? So the question is, the final receipt, talking as a doctor, the final prescription is going to be what we may do to develop, to strengthen, to reinforce our economy, our economies. Okay? So there is not an agreement, let me tell you that, but the debate is what triggers the economy, the ideas or the interest?
I'll say neither. I think it's more about superstars in the countries promoting it, becoming superbirds for these reasons. Because the young kids don't give a crap about how much, how motivated, how innovative you're going to be. They don't care. They just want to know, oh, this guy came from nothing, they made a company, and then they're like, oh, he made this company and now billions of users. They have like, he's a superstar, he's on TV. So they get motivated by that. That's happening in Finland with Supercell all the time. Supercell is like a crucial part of everything. And same is in Portugal with Farfetch. José is all the time on TV. He's like talking about entrepreneurship. He took a company from like 3 years ago and now he's a billion euro man.
Okay, let me try to understand what you say because for me it's new. Are you telling us that no ideas, no interests or crucial elements in the development of the society? Or are you telling me that the only problem is that kids are keeping on television and just wondering how to have a drink or go to a party?
Well,
please,
shoot
me about that.
Well, can I answer that?
Sorry?
Can I answer it?
Sure.
Okay, so if there are 15 to 18-year-old kids right now been waiting for 3 months outside of this Palacio de Deportes in Madrid, for 3 months to go see a group of 5 kids that come from Australia to sing. You have no idea who they are, I don't even know who they are. The 5 guys who are singing in their world tour and they start from Madrid. 3 months they've been waiting outside. They care nothing about how innovative that company or the singers are. It's the same songs that they've been singing for years and years. It's all the same, but still they're there. 3 months outside this Palacio de Deportes. Rain, cold and all. You explain to me why is that happening? Do they care about, is the music composed by Mozart or Max Martin or someone famous? They don't care. They just they care that they're on TV, they're really popular, everyone else likes them, they're successful. They followed the herd. And the herd is now changing towards the startups. And startups are also, they need to be charismatic. You cannot be a multi-billion coder behind a computer in the office in Israel or France or wherever. And you're making all these jobs happening, no one will know about it because you're not charismatic on TV. So Supercell is an exemplary company. I really implore you, all of you, to check this guy out. He's called Ilkka Paananen, he runs Supercell. Every time he's on TV or anyone else, he says, the only thing I care about is that my employees have fun. And he shows his office. They play ping pong there, they get huge salaries. The kids are like, I want to work in Supercell now. They don't even want to be musicians anymore, they don't want to be actors. So that's my opinion, it's just...
I fully agree with you, I mean, on that, on the fact, I mean, we need obviously to fix all the structural elements of how we employ the flexibility of labor, the taxation, the spirit against entrepreneurship and also the spirit against regulation, because I think that in Europe we are too much focused on regulation rather than to try to do the business. I mean, and thank you the European Commission because they are spending their time to do that, and we have it in all layers. But at the end of the day, if we want the youth people to feel embodied to do their company, they need to feel as superstar. We had this clash recently in France where the Minister of Economy, Emmanuel Macron, who is 37 years old, said and declared that he wanted to have people to become billionaires. And guess what? He's in theory from the left wing. So all his counterpart from the left wing said, how can you say that? I mean, it's impossible for someone from the left wing to say that we want people to be billionaires. And this is exactly the issue of France and the many other European countries. I mean, it's not a good fast path to become a billionaire. And if we want to unleash the economy, we need to make out of the success, I mean, something that is great. I mean, the entrepreneurs should be the new stars. I mean, because at the end of the day, then you have the young kids thinking that they can take the risk and maybe they will have a chance to climb and to be at the top of the social ladders. And on top of that, it's going to be fun.
Well, you can kill two birds with the same stone. One thing, we have a high rate of young unemployment, and also startup companies that they don't mean to be only from young people. They can be from older 65-year-old people with a lot of experience that all of a sudden they are unemployed because of unemployment or retirement or whatever, you know. And in microeconomics, in a lot of countries, they protect the infant industries. They call infant industries industries that they need in the countries, that they are crucial in the countries, and they need a lot of government help to be developed. You know, and it's how most of the transportation routes were developed, and other big other companies or state companies that later on, years later, were privatized and things like that. So entrepreneurship should be something that shouldn't have any obstacles or less obstacles as possible. And we've been talking about how many obstacles that they are legal obstacles or for startup companies, that I think in Israel they don't have so many. In other countries, as he was expressing, that you can start a company from scratch.
But don't think that Israel, everything is super simple in Israel. I mean, for entrepreneurs, I mean, you have a lot of tax. It's not so easy to start a company.
I'm not familiar with that, but I am familiar with Spain. And one thing is Kafkian, while the other thing I don't know how it is.
No, I think we should try to distinguish three things. One is the motivation of our teenagers. This is very difficult. You need leaders of something. This is one thing. How you can do that, I don't know. But, for instance, when I was a teenager, I never thought that a Catalan person could be a scientist. Never. So my leader was Fleming, who was a Scottish one. When in front of my house there was Antonio Esteva, that was a good pharmaceutist that was filling all the work made by Paul Ehrlich. He made sulfamides, he made salvarsan, he made penicillin. It was in front of my house. And
you didn't know it?
I didn't know. So one thing is to try to have examples for our teenagers, examples close to them. So this is education thing. So we cannot. This is one thing. This is complicated, but it can be done.
And it's slow.
It's slow, but it can be done. You need the educators to do that.
Yeah.
Because you know, a rock star will be always a rock star. You cannot avoid a teenager to be 3 months just queuing for that. It always will be like that. It has been always like that. But you can try to give some, this kind of
motivation.
For me, this is a question of 5 years. In 5 years, we can change it.
Well, you can, of course. The other thing is entrepreneur. So in Spain, the majority of jobs are made by entrepreneurs. But what is the quality? What is the add value to this entrepreneurship? So the most of them, they drive trucks. They have the majority of jobs are made are five at the most five employers. So these are there is the massive the number of autonomous, they say, the autonomous jobs in Europe. I think in Spain the percentage is the highest in Europe. You cannot say that Spain has no entrepreneurship. But what is the kind how is this job like? This is one thing. So what we are talking about is about added value jobs. This is another thing. In order to give this value to this job and to have enough wealth, in order to keep all this.
Or how come a self-employed person can become a corporation?
Well, this is difficult. So then when you compare, I read this report comparing Portugal with Switzerland, precisely. So you say Portugal is doing well, but they are not doing well when you see the number of licenses of high-tech technology, for instance. Why? Because they have not the environment to do that. So, to have a high quality production, to have high quality jobs, you need this interaction between university, where you have the knowledge, the disruptive knowledge, with industry. And this is what you have in Switzerland, precisely. And even in Portugal, the government gives this help, this money to the companies to make research widely. It is not the case in Switzerland. So Switzerland only gives money to the university. What they do with companies is just reduce the tax and reinforce the investment in research. Because sometimes when you give a lot of money for companies, because in Spain, when you compare, you look at the data, you see that the public investment in research is huge compared. What happens is that there is no private investment. But the problem is that we have not enough industry that is able to do this research because it has not added value.
In Europe, we are more used to the subsidies rather than the tax breaks.
Yes, that's it.
A subsidy is very subjective. A tax break is regulated. It's subjective. You follow the rules, you get a tax break. It's there are a lot of problems they are.
Then if you come back to those two topics, for me there's the question of education. If we want to have tech companies, we need to have people who code. We need to have, and then if we want to have startups, we need to have people who fund and to give the money. And it's often, I mean, the private money is better than the public money. I mean, at least, I mean, when we look at the statistic of the research, I mean, especially in the US, I mean, the research seems to be more efficient when it's private money than when it's public money. But I've seen it. But I don't want to enter into this role. There's a very good example of what could be done quickly in the education in France, which is the École 42, École 42. So Xavier Niel, who is the founder of Free, so the guy who has done the most in Europe, I mean in France I would say, for the tech ecosystem, really innovative guy, shaking the big telecommunication guys with his services, is now funding a school where the tuition is free. Everybody can apply up to 30 years old. The only way to apply is to be good in coding and to go to the test. And then the kids are there for 3 years, where they learn how to work as a transversal team in a very, you know, I mean, it's a pressuring environment. I mean, living together in the same place for 3 years, sleeping in the school, I would say, doing hackathon the weekends, and for that, I mean, Xavier Niel is paying everything. But if you have a diploma, I mean, and you don't code, I mean, you can't forget about entering the school. At the end of the day, today, he is able to train, and we will have the first more than 300 people developing that everybody now wants to have. Because if you don't have tech, data scientists, developers, I mean, and often, I mean, in your countries, I mean, in France, if you're good at school, it's better to become an engineer, but to become the engineer that works for the government or for a big corporation than to become an entrepreneur. I mean, it's changing, but we need to have tech talents. So if we want to have more job in tech, we need to train that. Or we need to do like what Mauricio is doing with Ash Farm, to have a global program to train people, I mean, like you're doing in Venice, to train people to become entrepreneurs, which is for me also a great example of where a place where there's nothing. Sorry to tell you that, Mauricio, but Venice is not known for the the tech ecosystem where you've been able to create from scratch a tech ecosystem.
Right. Yeah,
So-
that's good. We started 10 years ago with the intention really to create an environment for a next generation of entrepreneurs because of this new technology is going to change and giving them a different opportunity. And we developed this one today as a platform, as a real platform that serves both investors, so entrepreneurs who wants to raise money doing startup, but at the same time, how to connect this new kind of workforce or this new kind of mindset and the corporates and the companies, because Europe is not an ecosystem like the United States where you can start from an idea and get money to create the next Uber and all this stuff. Europe is completely different. We have a lot of value in the diversity, in the heritage to bring now and to fix local problems as well. But as she mentioned, it is very important to know what is the language of today. The language of today is dealing with different technologies. So what's going on now? It's going on that we created this kind of platform that is intersecting education. We like the model of Ecole 42. But this is for real. So we have hackathons. Tomorrow morning I have to leave at 6 o'clock because I have a flight at 9. Because at 11 we start the hackathon in the retail business. It's gathering 400 people. It's multidisciplinaries, so designers, and developers.
Where is this?
At my place. It's going to be 24 hours. And we have 4 companies. So there is one company from France, with one Milan, another company, it's the largest retail company in the country, plus 2 more companies. So they paid, and they want to bring and they want to see what is the outcome. So we're just pioneering, we're just at the beginning in something which is kind of changing, but it's cultural generation. This is why we have unemployment, and that people is not able to fix this unemployment, but we have to discover the value we have.
Yeah. What I like in your model is that you're close to the value of what makes the success of Italy. It's about the industrial network of company, like the retail one you're saying, the luxury one. So in all our country, we have good example of best practices and how, France is very good also for the luxury,
the
retail
do
tech.
exactly this one to say, so you think about Italy, you think about food design, fashion, some
Maserati.
Yeah, you can think Maserati, you can think about Ducati, you can think about some mechanics, you can think of Thinker Suites, you can think of watches, we have some domain. So it's important today, the technology is so low, the barrier of entry, that we need to try to get specific local domains or knowledge that you can tie with the next generation of way of doing things. And then according that, I strongly believe that the platform will be a way to make more flexible the companies. So they will employ less people in the way they used to employ in the past, but they might have access to much more knowledge because of this platform. And the workforce is going to be, even the single person going to be more entrepreneur. So he has a good competence, he has the ownership of his competence. He might work for a project for me, a project for you. You are in Finland, I'm in Spain, and she's Croatia. And you can understand this one, and why not? So this is kind of mindset. It's going to change.
So the good thing is that we can still fix that. There's a lot to do with the governments and the public action. So I guess this is the hardest things to change. But as long as we have, the more we have entrepreneurs and the more we have young people or young entrepreneurs coming on the scene, the more we will have pressure on the governments to fix things. I hope so. And last message, if we are not able to have tech business in Europe or tech-enabled business, we'll have to worry in the coming years on the political and social stability and the poverty also. And we need also to bring the money from outside in Europe. And not only, I'm going to do a bad joke about France, but not only the Qatari money, but also the US, US and ASEAN money to be able to fund private initiative. I'm personally a big believer of the private initiative rather than the subsidized from the governments. But anyway, this is the way we are built in Europe. So let's take the most of it. Thanks for that. So I hope that we will have a startup nation in Europe, not only in Israel. But
Are you optimistic about the future or not?
yes, because this is my. I want to invest in Israel for my next in Israel and in Europe for my next ventures. So I believe in Europe. I think that we still have a lot of talents, a lot of tech people, and that is a good moment because now that entrepreneurship, governments are pulling so much money. On the scene to have accelerators, tech companies. That yes, for sure the European. Scene is going to be resilient and maybe to take off. And we have talents. What we have, clearly is the talents. The good educational system that enable us to have, in theory, in some countries, developers, engineers, data scientists, and it's maybe a good place to start a company, and then you expand it abroad. So yes, I want to be optimistic.
Check what Estonia is doing with e-residence.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Really amazing. Anyone?
I don't know, did anyone mention the Catalonian example or no?
No.
No? It's just, there was there still is the Minister of Economy here, Mr. Mascuyel, who like 15 years ago started in Catalonia to create some scientific, I would say, departments in several institutions. And this leads to what is called Sherkas here, and there are like 25 or 26. On which half of them are quite good, and 5 or 6 are at the level of the best in the world, where some people come from Israel, they recognize the science here. So this was a model started by the government, and it's a model that had the possibility. Now what is missing now is for transfer of technology funds, so the financial ecosystem. But a lot of people are trying to make spin-off from inside this Circus institution, and it works. So we don't know what will come out at the end, but this is another kind of model.
You have the technology, or at least
we have the knowledge and the technology, and some are very good.
So you need to have the business and the finance to make it global.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The governments are doing what it's supposed to do.
So let's be positive. And as for me, I prefer to live in Europe. We have good wine, good places, good food. Rather than to be abroad. Especially Israel is a different case because they have wine and the food is extremely good and they have the beach. So I can make a difference. But it's only 3 hours and a half from here, our place. So I always say that we have the Silicon Valley close to us, closest to Europe than going to the other Silicon Valley, and we don't make anything out of it in Europe. And the Israeli people, they prefer to go to the States rather than coming to Europe. So we need to strengthen the links because at the end of the day, when you travel from New York to San Francisco, it takes you 8 hours, whereas from here we can be in 3 hours in the Silicon Valley.
Well, which Silicon Valley?
Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is the Silicon Valley for me. I would say the second hub after the Silicon Valley, the first one.
Is there a lunar capital or venture capital?
I beg your pardon?
Is enough venture capital as it is in Silicon Valley?
No. You have the statistic that we have in Europe is that we have over the last 15 years, 2,000 billions of dollars have been invested in the US, creating an average of 80, 85, 90 companies above 1 billion, whereas in Europe, 36 billion. So 2,000 billion in the US over the last 15 years, compared to 36 billion, Europe and Israel included. And for that 36 billion, we have created 15 unicorns, company above 1 billion. But in the US, you have extreme unicorns, company like Facebook, Google, and Uber now above 40 or 50 billions, or Apple.
So there is a big gap in efficiency.
There's a big gap of efficiency of the money employed. You can see it like this, but you also have a big gap anyhow in the funding of tech and entrepreneurship in Europe, and even in Israel, when you compare the ratio compared to the US. So if we're able to have more money coming to Europe, and not only public money, because the issue in Europe is that we have a lot of public money, Or in some countries, I mean, we have a lot of public money. I mean, it's maybe more efficient to have some private money.
Yeah, government is now for
And at the end of the day, we're paying for that as citizens.
allocator of funds.
So thanks for that. So let's believe in Europe.
Thank you.